After years of suppressing rage and depression, Charlie, a state trooper, breaks down and adopts a brand new personality named Hank, also known as just another Tuesday night. Am I right?
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
And that's why today in Flick Summary, me, myself, and Irene. The flick opens with Charlie and Layla, a couple who are absolutely lovesick for one another. They quickly get married and a chauffeur takes them over the new home. Charlie innocently asks the chauffeur some questions, but the driver feels offended.
Do you people take checks?
Say that again? You mean a black man?
Although he meant the company, the driver takes offense to this question and starts beating him. Layla sees this and attempts to stop the fight while scolding Charlie for being insensitive, even though it was just a misunderstanding. As Layla apologized to the offended driver on behalf of Charlie, sparks immediately fly between the strangers as they discover they have more in common than expected.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Layla gets pregnant and gives birth to triplets that look nothing like Charlie. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. Charlie pretends to be oblivious to the fact that his 3 kids are very clearly not his, and he takes care of the boys while Layla isn't home. Some years later, Charlie's wife leaves him and the kids behind as she carelessly disappears with the driver from their wedding day.
No amount of therapy will ever make this moment okay.
Charlie doesn't seem to pay much attention to the fact that his wife left him with 3 kids that don't belong to him, or at least that's what it looks like.
Nah, man, I'm pretty far from okay.
He continues on with his life as regular, raising and caring for the triplets as if they were his own. Fast forward, many years later, the kids are grown up and absolutely respectful and thankful with their father figure. That's so sweet. We love a happy family. However, things are not quite the same outside of home. Charlie's neighbors mock him, his colleagues disrespect him, and he is rarely, if ever, taken seriously. Taking advantage of his naivety and pushover nature, a lady at the supermarket asks him if she could pay before him, even though it was his turn first. Much to his shock, the lady has 3 shopping carts and rowdy children that makes the experience unbearable. There's another thing that makes the experience rather terrible, but we'll let Mr. Carrey's expressive face tell you what went down. That's right, you guessed it. He turned into Hank, his new alter ego. What? What did you think he was doing? Hank is the complete opposite to Charlie. He is confrontational, bold, completely oblivious to social clues, and aggressive. Really aggressive. He starts being rude to people and performs over-the-top acts of revenge on the people that mocked him. The next day after Hank's misdemeanors, Charlie comes back to consciousness and does not remember what went on the previous day. He gets quickly diagnosed with schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder, which might explain Hank's random appearances.
That makes sense to me.
As it turns out, Hank comes out when Charlie wants to avoid his issues, especially since he was constantly repressing what he was feeling back when his wife left him. He gets prescribed some medication that prevents Hank from coming out, or at least keeps him to a minimum. As he takes the pills at work, a woman named Irene is being cited for apparently running someone over. Irene is confused about the citation, claiming she has never had a car accident or anything remotely similar. In order to clear up the situation, Irene has to travel all the way to New York and get to the bottom of the situation. Our good man Charlie is forced to take her as he says goodbye to his fully grown kids for the time being, or well, his ex-wife's fully grown kids. Charlie and Irene take off on his small trooper motorcycle as they encounter a dead cow, or what looks like a dead cow, on the middle of the road. Charlie attempts to put it out of its misery, but every time he thought the cow was dead, it would emit some sort of agonizing noise. So he tried again, and again, and again.
Stop it. Get some help.
Anyway, after that bigger than average bump in the road, they continue on the road. When Charlie is taking one of his pills, 2 cops who were responsible for Irene's fake citation appear along the way. You see, Irene worked in a golf course with some guy that seemed sketchy. Unfortunately for our duo, or trio if you want to count Hank, one more policeman is involved. This one, though, happens to be just a smidge involved with a sketchy guy and wants to find out how much she knows to, kill her.
You're all terrible.
Anyway, Charlie drops Irene off the policeman and takes a week-long mental health break from work. Poor thing needs it.
You deserve every happiness you find.
The cops ask Irene some questions and they reveal the sketchy guy was in a bit of a pickle as his company was under investigation for fraud. In fact, the policemen suspect Mr. Sketchy Guy has even committed a couple of murders.
You're in big trouble, mister.
While the police fill Irene in, a masked assailant shows up the door, killing one of the cops and knocking out the other. Irene quickly hides from the killer and manages to get away. Following this frightful experience, Irene decides to look for Charlie, the greatest trooper in town, to ask for help. She finds him at a hotel and explains everything that went down. Charlie is quick to react and simply tells her he will call the police. Immediately, Irene stops him and puts the phone down, telling him that Sketchy Guy and his company bribed the entirety of the police department. Well, that's just lovely, isn't it?
You're all terrible.
Now that they are after Irene, they rush out of the hotel without a second thought. Given that they left in such haste, Charlie left a little something in the hotel that might give them some problems along the way. Our boy Charlie forgot his Hank suppressing pills and has accidentally given him complete permission to come and go as he pleases.
If you ask me, this whole thing is going to end badly.
Later on, Charlie contacts his lieutenant, as he's one of the few people in the department he can trust. As it turns out, Charlie was wrong for trusting this guy because he's very much involved with Mr. Sketchy Guy. The corrupt lieutenant punches Charlie, causing Hank to promptly take his place, resulting in a hilarious fight. Hank and Irene steal the cop's car and get away from the scene. While this is happening, Charlie's superior knock on the triplets' door, asking to see their father. They explain he hasn't returned from his mental health break and should be chilling in a hotel room. The department asks the fully grown kids to come along with them, as they tell them they suspect Charlie was responsible for what went down in the masked assailant situation.
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
They recruit the triplets to help find their dad, to which they agree in hopes of proving his innocence. Back to our duo/trio, Hank is erratic as ever and starting fight with whomever he thinks fit. Not too long after, Charlie returns and finds rather suspicious items in the corrupt cop's trunk. Scared they may be about to be framed for murder, they dump the vehicle in a river. Seconds after pushing the car down the river, Hank comes back and remembers he left his wallet there.
Well, that's just great.
The pair goes to a fair and Hank is shining in all his Hank-like glory, stealing an ice cream from a girl and trying to start a fight with her. Lovely. Hank tells Irene to punch him to see if they manage to score some cash from a stranger. Though unsure, Irene does as she's told, but severely injures Hank nose. They didn't score any cash, in case you were wondering. Charlie returns not too long after as they head to a small diner to grab a bite to eat. At the diner, a kid starts staring at Charlie, making him a little nervous. Hank takes over once again and tries to fight the kid, but politely tells the family to not get involved. This was between Hank and the kid.
I got no beef with you. This is between me and the kid.
The family hurries out of the restaurant and the waiter casually shows up to take Hank and Irene's order. Hank also gets a little offensive with the waiter, telling him that he looks like a giant Q-tip.
Holy Jesus in heaven. It's a giant Q-tip.
The waiter scolds him for what he did to that kid and for offending him. Surprisingly, Hank apologizes as he cries because his wife left him. See, now he's showing emotion. Charlie returns and it is revealed that Hank made a quick stop to a plastic surgeon and changed his nose and chin without Charlie having much of say in it. Also, the waiter, Milky, has joined the trip and has even let the couple borrow some money from him. After a few Hank-related incidents, the trio arrive at a motel to spend the night. Given that there were only 2 rooms available, Irene takes one for herself, while Milky and Charlie bunk. The one-night stand roomies discuss their upbringings and origin stories, where Milky casually admits he killed his family while they were asleep. Okay, thanks for oversharing. Rightfully weirded out,
Get out!
Charlie leaves Milky sleep alone as he heads to Irene to comfort and safety. During their sleepover, Irene and Charlie bond and get a little closer as he shows her pictures of his family and even lets her keep one. Irene cracks open a wine bottle she had hidden and shares a drink, or an entire bottle, with Charlie as things turn spicy between the two. The next morning, Charlie wakes up with quite some pain and some other issues. Charlie asks Irene if they had slept together the night before, and when Irene says yes, they realize Hank had taken over and she didn't notice. The couple doesn't have too much time to dwell on it as several cops patrols arrive to the motel in hopes of finding them. The corrupt cop from earlier is back with a vengeance and plans on killing the two no matter what.
I think you're evil!
However, just before executing the murder, Evil Cop and his team get a dispatch call from elsewhere, claiming they had found the pair and had them under arrest as they speak. However, this was just a strategy from the triplets in order to prove Charlie was innocent. Meanwhile, Irene and Charlie bicker and don't even realize the cops had been there. The two leave a note to Milky as they leave him behind. The patrols return just as Milky reads the note and swears revenge on them as he leaves to find them. Charlie once again attempts calling one of his trusted trooper companions and tells him his location. He is betrayed against as he discloses the location to the evil cops as well.
Why are you doing this?
Irene and Charlie kiss one more time before boarding a train where Mr. Sketchy Guy just happens to be. Luckily, upon spotting him, Hank immediately took over and is ready for a fight.
Go get him, Tiger.
Charlie is back once again, but has had enough of Hank fighting his fights for him. So they fight each other? Himself? Eventually, Evil Cop catches up to them and a chase between the three ensues. Charlie gets shot, but Hank takes his place, ready to steal a car and finally take Evil Cop down. Meanwhile, Sketchy Guy kidnaps Irene and lets her to a different train station. Thankfully, Hank quickly caught up to them and is ready for rescue. Things take a little longer though, as Hank is afraid of water for some reason, but Charlie finally comes back and pulls through. Milky finally makes a comeback when he spots his friends, kills Sketchy Guy and saves the day. The triplets steal a helicopter, which they apparently know how to drive, and rescue Milky, Irene, and Charlie, officially saving the day. Later, good cops finally caught the bad cops as the heroes of our story get medical assistance. Charlie removes the bandage from his chin, revealing his newly modified butt chin, as the triplets tease him about it.
Look, Daddy got a goddamn butthole on his face.
Irene and Charlie finally part ways, but not before agreeing to see each other again sometime soon. As she drives away, Irene gets pulled over by cops, but it's just Charlie attempting to get her back as he asks her to marry him. She agrees, and they lived happily ever after. Oh, by the way, remember the cow that wouldn't die? Well, she's still alive, only with a neck brace. And that's all for today. Make sure to stay tuned as we'll be doing more Jim Carrey movies very soon. For now, let us know in the comments what did you think of this movie, and as always, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it with your friends. See you next time.